Hi, it's Deborah Carter here with another exciting episode of Preparation Tech. Today I am talking with Zuby Onwuta, who is a very inspiring inventor of technology which helps blind people and visually impaired people. I've been reading about him for a while, so I'm super excited to be interviewing him. So let's just hand it over to Zuby. Tell us, who are you and what are you passionate about?
Thank you so much for having me, Deborah, and I think you're doing an amazing job with new tech kids. I'm just a guy that is very passionate about technology and innovation. Right from when I was at a very young age, I gravitated towards watching movies or shows that were all about science, and it looked like magic. From Space 1999, where I think I was 6 years old, black and white TV, but I still vividly remember, astronauts talking into their wrist. So what is that today? That is the Apple Watch, right? And the Terminator, Back to the Future, we have drones today. So I really loved science from a very early age. And that's really what I'm all about personally. Improvement, making life better in whatever way we can, whatever capacity we can. Different people try to make life better in different ways. Mine is science, technology, innovation. So I'm just a geek kid at heart. That's really who I am. And then I try to work hard and leverage my passion with and applying it to the problems I'm familiar with. I am Black. I am African born. I am visually impaired. I'm legally blind myself. So that's where I started applying my knowledge to try to solve the problems of the visually impaired. But at my core, I'm all about STEM. I'm all about tech. I'm all about innovation. And along the same lines, I also talk to a lot of kids about STEM and how they can leverage it to create a career path and a better life for themselves and their families.
Fantastic. Maybe tell us a bit about the background, because I understand from your background you were able to see until you were an adult, and then you lost your sight. So tell us about that process, because that's really the context for you developing what we're going to talk about later, which is the Think and Zoom technology.
Sure. So at a young age, I looked up to my uncle. He's an anesthesiology, and so I wanted to be a medical doctor in America. And I came to America right after high school with my dream, $200 and a duffel bag to be a medical doctor. I quickly realized that I needed a whole lot more money, and I started pre-med and then joined the U.S. Army. I was about 18, 19. And then things started going wrong. At first, I was diagnosed with a juvenile form of macular degeneration called Stargardt's. So within 2 years, what I mean by within 2 years, I mean by 1 year, I went into the DMV driver motor vehicle facility and got my driver's license, put my eyes through the scope. 5 minutes, 5 seconds, I was out. 2 years later, same thing. 5 minutes later, I couldn't see him. So within 2 years, my vision went from 2040 to 2200. 2040 is you see the eye chart, maybe from half of the prescribed distance. 2200 is you're that way. You, you're like 1 foot away. So it was a drastic decline. And what was happening was the macula, the center of the retina, was being damaged. And that got me a medical discharge from the military, and I had to abandon my medical studies. So I went into engineering. Now, unfortunately for me, I had other problems that weren't discovered yet. So while I was being told that with Stargardt's, once you get to that visual acuity of 2200, it's supposed to plateau. It's supposed to not decline any longer. It's supposed to stay stable. And you're supposed to cope with magnifiers. So instead of doing this, you wear a magnifier that can make things bigger for you. but my diagnosis never matched my symptoms, not even for half a day. My vision kept fluctuating every day and it kept progressively declining. And so I started conducting a research by myself, and I went through 300 eye care professionals, and a decade and a half later, don't even want to talk about how much spent. But I discovered that I had three genetic rare eye disorders, and it's very difficult to imagine. So I often give the example that if you had one computer virus, you can imagine how annoying that is. Now imagine if you had three computer viruses. I mean, they don't talk to each other nicely. They don't say, "Hey, virus one, you attack in the morning," or virus two. They're just causing all kinds of chaos. You don't even know which one is doing what at what time.
So let's talk about Think and Zoom, which is the technology that you invented to help people like yourselves who has this problem with blindness and visual impairment. Tell us about that. What is it, and what was the process in terms of developing it?
Well, the Think and Zoom is totally based on my life experience. I simply wanted to solve my own personal problem. When the eye disorders started to deal with me, of course, I mentioned how I left the military, I left medicine. I did manage to get an engineering degree, but not before flunking out of college and having to reapply back. I did get a full-time job in the industry. I started with IBM, but within 2 years, I ended up at the school for the blind, where I had to go learn non-visual skills like using the white cane and using screen readers, learning orientation and mobility, meaning you travel, totally blind with the blindfolder. And then I came back uh, to work, and I kept struggling till 2015, when all of these symptoms combined just get too much for me and I left engineering work. So Think and Zoom is the culmination or the result of all of my past experiences, be it from the medical side, where I threw myself into intense medical research of ophthalmology, the causes of retinal problems, or be it my engineering training, and of course my passion for STEM. And combining all of that with my lived experience, I try to find a solution that will address all of that, but a solution that was still very easy to use. So I try to find something that will offer a great user experience, because if the person using it is not being pleased while they're using it, they will not use it. So something that offers a great user experience, something that can improve functionality, and something that could ultimately boost productivity, so that the blind consumer is not left behind when compared to their peers. Because it's sad, we all have 24 hours in a day. You could be in a wheelchair, you could be blind, or you could be in a hospital bed, but the clock doesn't stop. Everybody still has that 24 hours. And
Exactly.
so I was trying to find something that could allow the blind consumer compete favorably with everybody else. And so um, all of these experiences was what I combined to figure out a way to be able to achieve the said magnification or screen reading in an easy manner. So magnification, like I explained already, is very good, for people who are very have poor vision. So you're not always putting your face into something, you can magnify, right? Now, screen reading is another piece of technology where it converts all available characters and converts it to audio and reads it out to you. So that's also good for people who are partially sighted or totally blind. You can read a menu, you can read a book, you just listen to it. So now, how do control these things? On the market today, all of the available solutions are all handheld and all manually operated. I liken that to asking someone, hey, if you want to see clearly, why don't you hold your eyeballs with one hand and use your other hand to control it? Well, you're kind of out of hands. How you gonna type? you know.
Yeah.
So I looked for a way to be able to control the magnification or the screen reading, but looked for something that was very easy to achieve. And I was able to find neuroscience. So I'd never studied neuroscience. I never even read a neuroscience book up until today. But I discovered neuroscience, which is the study of the human brain, and at the roots of our thoughts and our emotions and behavior are the massive amounts of neurons in our cranium that communicate with each other, but they leverage electrical impulses. So it turns out that we can leverage what is called electroencephalogram or EEG, similar to the EKG for heart, but EEG is for the brain. So we can leverage that to non-invasively gather these electrical impulses. And then what we have to do is process it, analyze it, understand it, and use it to do something. And so that's how I invented Think and Do, where non-invasively we're gathering EEG data and using it to influence a magnification or text to speech, screen reading. Oh, I'm so sorry.
No problem.
My set of I'm not used to using my headphones.
That's it.
Okay, so I'm so sorry. I use it to use EEG brainwave data to be able to influence magnification or screen reading text to speech. And so that's how I invented brain control for blind assistive tech.
Okay, I love this. So I'm going to repeat this: brain control for blind
assistive
assisted tech. And so
Right.
basically you are using the brain waves to
Right.
send a signal, which then automatically magnifies the camera you have in front of your eyes so that you can see things more clearly. Can we get a
Correct.
demo? Is it possible to do a demo on camera so people understand what you're talking about?
Sure. And actually, another way to phrase it is the technology detects whenever I'm struggling to see, and then it helps me out.
Ah,
Because that's how your eyes work, right? Whether
right.
you have to look at 100 feet away, 10 feet away, or 1 foot away, it does all that adjustment for you automatically. You don't have to press any buttons. And so that's what we try to achieve with Think and Zoom. And I'll show a demo.
Okay.
So this is a brainwave reader, and the ingredient is right here. That's the sensor that's going to touch my forehead.
Okay.
And so this is an EEG brainwave reader. And the first thing we're going to do is to check to make sure that I have some brainwaves. Think of it like a thermometer checking your temperature.
Listen, I think you've got a lot more brain waves than most people, Zuby.
So I'm just going to pair this by Bluetooth.
Okay.
And then I'm going to show you our game, which it was first developed 5 years ago, and it won an award at Apple Worldwide Developer Conference.
Okay.
And so this is a bird, and I hope you can see it very well.
I can see it very well, unfortunately, but well, I believe you. So.
Okay.
Oh yeah, I see it.
Can you see it now?
Yeah.
So birds love to fly, but this one is stuck in a cage.
Right.
Right. So how do we free it? Well, I'm going to use that EEG brainwave reader. Once I put it on, I'm going to concentrate, and I'm going to move that bird. So do you believe me?
I believe you.
You're supposed to say no.
No, I don't believe you.
All right, so let me put this on.
Oh, yeah. Okay. He's still in the cage. Oh, he's rising in the cage. Oh, he's coming out. Wow.
That's right.
You did that with
So I just use. Right. So I'm, of course, driving it. I'm concentrating. I'm focusing, right? And we use focus signals because, like I mentioned, if you have to look at something, 100 feet away, what do? You focus harder on it, right? And these things are done automatically because your eyes are, connected to your brain through the optic nerve. It's all in sync. So you don't really notice the nitty gritty step by step. It's all automatic. 100 feet away, you look, oh, that says that. Somebody gives you a menu, oh, it's all adjust. And so we try to leverage the focus signal, which is, how humans will naturally behave if they're struggling to see. And once we detect that struggle, we use that to do something. And so now that I've been able to play a game, let me show you the actual Think and Zoom application. Again, both of them are in the Apple iOS App Store. And so with this one, I'm going to launch a magnifier and then I'm going to use it to read. And it is going to get a little tricky, but I'm going to try to show it very well on the screen. So let me know if you're seeing anything.
Very blurry. Clear, clear. Dreams kill careers or something.com.
Killscareersend.com.
Wow.
That's right. So I just read my business card. And of course, I didn't hold it
Wow.
very well.
Wow.
Yeah, I
Oh,
just
no
read my
longer
business card.
steals dreams. Oh, that's a great business card too. Wow.
Thank
Love
you.
it.
So as you witnessed, it magnified and it also did some screen reading. So it's for both people who are partially sighted like I am, or sometimes my eyes get tired, and so I just turn on the screen reader. So that's Think and Zoom.
Fan.
And then with our belief on making things very simpler, we also have another solution. So this is a ring. Uh, can you see that?
Yeah, yeah.
Okay. So imagine that you're typing in front of your computer, right? We believe that you can have this ring this way and still keep typing and still have your hands free, right? So with something like this, I'm going to be able to control the magnification on the screen. So I'm going to launch the magnification application again, and I'm going to change it to the ring. And my apologies, trying to do the demo in front of Zoom can get tricky. Okay, so do you see the screen?
Yes, I see your hand holding the screen. Yes. Yeah.
Okay, all right. So I'm going to start zooming it in now.
Oh, wow. And this is just with your brain waves.
No, ring this time
Wait.
around.
Oh, okay. And what are you doing with the ring?
I'm just pressing two buttons. So let me take away. We're done with the brain now. This is a totally different solution.
Okay.
So the brain is at rest now,
Okay.
if you will, right? And so now all I'm using is a ring. So that's why I showed you the ring, how small it is. So
Wow.
somebody who can wear this ring can be able to be zooming in and out while using a computer.
Wow. Okay.
So you can still have your hands relatively free while
Right.
still using the computer.
Right. So there's a camera on the ring that can zoom in, you're saying.
No, so the ring just has buttons.
Yeah. Okay.
Press one button, it zooms in,
Oh, okay.
and press the other button, it zooms out.
Oh, so that's way more mobile because it's just on your hand, but
Exactly,
right,
exactly.
right.
And with something like that, I'm sure you've seen VR headsets,
Yes.
right? So now you can put your magnifier inside of your VR headset and wear it with your ring, and you have your hands free.
Wow, that's fantastic.
Yeah.
This
So
tech
you
is
you wear it, and then with your ring, So now you have your hands free and you can, look at the classroom board or
Wow.
whatever you want to see.
Zuby, I'm loving these inventions because this is really transforming the experience of blind people and visually impaired people. So they're getting kind of the same experience as people who can see. I mean, this is fantastic.
That's
What
the
has
goal.
been the
Thanks.
uptake? What has been the uptake? Where's this stuff being deployed?
Well, this is the United States of America, and we have our different rules. One of the challenges is that blind assistive technology is not covered by medical insurance.
Okay. So,
And 70% of the blind population are already unemployed. So it makes it difficult to be able to, deliver solutions where your population is very price sensitive and they cannot get relief. And, this is one of the things that threw me into disability advocacy. We have appeared twice at the United Nations, three times at the US Congress. And one of the bills that we have actually been pushing is the Access Technology Affordability Act, so that when a blind user buys these things out of pocket, they can get some tax credit. And so we're still working on how to find that sweet spot where it can be affordable to the consumer. So it's not in the market yet.
right. Wow. Wow. That would be revolutionary. So not only are you a background in medicine, in tech, in engineering, but you're also now in the lobbying, political lobbying as well. So you are just a very well-rounded, multidisciplinary person. Explain to us the process for developing Think and Zoom. Who did you partner with, if you did? I mean, how did it start? You started with a vision, but then how did you bring it from your idea actually to this device that you had just a minute ago on your head?
So, you were mentioning, about being well-rounded, and it's just the nature when you are a patient innovator. For instance, there's a very famous patient innovator today called Dana Lewis, who she had diabetes, and out of sheer necessity, she was able to pull off something the medical device industry wasn't able to achieve. She gathered other people with diabetes, and they teamed up with a software engineer, and they were able to develop, of all things, an artificial pancreas.
Wow.
Exactly. And you can look her up on the internet, Dana Lewis. And so that's, why it seems like I'm doing all of these other things, right? Because I understand where the shoe pinches. You cannot go put out a device out there that costs $10,000 to $15,000 when you know fully well the people cannot afford it. So what's the point? Um, so the process, just goes all back to the lived experience. I recall very clearly, 96, I went to the DMV, put my eyes, I got my driver's license in 5 seconds. And I can recall 2 years later when I had to renew, went back to the same place. And I can remember crying because all of a sudden it felt as if here were my eyes, here's the eye screening device. I'm supposed to see something out front, but it seems as if there was fog or cloud between my eyes and what I was trying to see. And there was nothing I could do to see. I cleaned my eyes how many times I was crying, I was begging, nothing. And at that moment, I knew well that I was seeing the things, but I wasn't seeing it very well. It was as if imagine if you're in a plane, I don't know, 50,000 feet in the air and looking down and seeing everything very tiny. So I was looking at it, but I wasn't seeing it. So I knew I needed something to make it big so I could see it. But I wanted that thing to appear right then and then. So appear whenever I need you, make things bigger for me, and then when I don't need you, disappear. So right from that experience in '98, it stuck, at the back of my mind, and I have so many sketches. I kind of, try to design things. I never knew the first step about entrepreneurship, let alone technology entrepreneurship, which is something totally different. And I always had that, because from going to school, I was encountering the same problems. I started my college career, I think dean's list the first 2 semesters, president's list the following, inducted into Phi Theta Kappa International Honor Society. But then 2 years later, I'm flunking out of school because I wasn't seeing the board anymore. So again, when I wasn't seeing the board, I remember all I need is this thing to just come and make it bigger for me to see the board and then disappear. So these were all the, little things, or, when I have to do homework, if when I was reading print, my eyes would get tired. I had to always go to the Office of Disability Services for them to, of all things, they had to magnify, the whole content of the textbook. So I just knew I needed an easy way to make things bigger. And that thought kept burning in my mind, but I didn't have an outlet until 2012 when Google released the Google Glass, which you can see it on thinkandzoom.com. It has a little display right here. It has a camera. I said yes. I mean, you can imagine it was tens of millions of dollars to put out a prototype. I said, thank you, Google. You solved half of my problem. I appreciate you guys, right? And so, and I have a pair, and I grabbed one, and then I started, okay, tinkering. Now I have the base. It has a camera. I can even download an application to it, and I built my own custom magnifier. So how do I easily control it? With Google Glass, you control it by swiping on the on the side of the frame, and it wasn't natural, right? And I don't see you swiping just to see me, right? You're looking at me. Nobody walks around swiping one eye. So I had to find a controller. And so I kept digging till I discovered neuroscience, that you could tap, brainwaves. So when I put it all together, and it wasn't easy. I remember that 2012, I spent 2 weeks at Johns Hopkins. That's where I was now diagnosed with these three disorders. And then that was the same year I told them, hey, I could do this. So I would send these ridiculous looking emails to doctors from Johns Hopkins to University of London, and nobody understood what I was talking about. So it took up until 2015 when I actually developed it, bought the Google Glass, worked with a developer, architected it, designed it, and the developer just typed up the code and we downloaded it. And I still remember the first day it worked. It was amazing. It was seriously amazing. And this was 2015, and I was so excited. And there was a news outlet in South Africa, Johannesburg, that saw it, and they flew me out there to go present. And I wasn't my developer, and I couldn't see because the Google Glass is so tiny, so I couldn't see. And even if I could, it's so tiny. If whatever I'm seeing, there's no way for you to see it, right? There was no way to easily show what I was seeing. And so when I came back, I ported it to the iPhone, which is so much easier to show. So that was the journey. It was a very, very long journey, but that's typically the journey of innovation. It's never linear. It's never sequential, step by step. It's all kinds of adventurous and trials and errors until you arrive at something.
Absolutely. So you've given us a great background on yourself and your journey as an inventor. Take us back to your childhood. What kind of child were you? What were your interests, your passions, your characteristics? Because what I'm really interested in is, how did Zuby evolve to be Zuby, creating this amazing tech?
My childhood, when uh, when and where I grew up, my childhood was not standard, if you would. I was an anomaly. Um, I was raised by my grandmother during primary school, and she was widowed at that time. And then I had to move to a different city for secondary school, raised by my dad, who was single. So it was a lot of lonely time. I was 90% always by myself. And I read a lot of books. I think by the time I left high school, I think I'd read maybe about 1,000 novels at that time. I read a lot of books, and I uh, I think I studied hard for whatever reason. I think I just loved learning. My grandmother told me that maybe I was 3 years old. I saw some kids. I said, "Who are those? Why are they wearing that? They were wearing a uniform." And she said, "Oh, they're going to school." And I said, "I want to go." So that's how I started. I started early, and I just like to, consume information. So with all of those, readings, of course, I read both nonfiction as well as science fiction. Um, I think in my primary school days, I think my mother sent me the science book series. It was little, 20 to 30 pages each of bio, chem, physics, agricultural, little books. And the only one I could conduct an experiment with was the physics one. I got I think I got the battery, and tied the copper wire here, tied the copper wire here, put the excess around the nail, and then I got an electromagnet. Boom! Oh man, I was hooked. That was like my eyes went pew. That was it. I said, okay, this is it. This is where it is. And when I went into secondary school, I shied away so much from non-science classes that I failed all of my curriculum with only science classes. You're supposed to take only one science. I did both biology and chemistry, and added physics, and added agricultural science, and added geography. Like that's all I did, which is, I don't recommend it. I will recommend people having a balanced life. But the other side, the business studies, the economics, it's now that I understand what it is. Back then, like, it just didn't make any sense to me. So I shied away. So I was all about trying to invent something, right? And so that's my core. And going into medicine, of course, it's science, right? It's just your playground is the human body. It's not more like a mechanical body. It's more of the human body. And I was, good with chemistry and biology till my eyes went bad. And then I went into engineering, and engineering should have been fun, but because my eyes were so bad, it was just so hard, so tedious. I remember my last semester of college. I never slept on my bed at night, so I would always be in the computer lab writing code all night long till 6 a.m., run to my room, lay on the bed till 9 a.m., run to class. That I was hell bent on graduating. And some other people have said this is too hard. Let me go do law, right? Let me go do history, because if you do those, you can screen read, right? Because with engineering, I mean, your physics class 3 times a week, 1 hour, and then your lab is 3 hours of lab. You have to go to the lab. There's no escaping the lab. You have to do all these hands-on projects. But I guess I like challenging stuff. I like to challenge myself. I like to put in that effort. I like to just tire myself with the hard work ethic. In my first TEDx, I credit my grandmother so much for giving me the discipline, and my father for giving me the hard work, and my uncle for giving me the grit and the perseverance. And so those were all the things that made Zuby. And even in my TEDx talk, I talk about how um, even the movement of look, think, and zoom, which is from me, I like to look towards a better, brighter future, think of how to get there and zoom to get there. It's now going from think and zoom, the physical tech innovation piece, to now think and zoom, the inspirational piece, and the three-step process to which anybody can apply to their lives to be able to achieve phenomenal things.
Wow. Have to ask you, so you are before me on the computer screen, started in Africa, came to Europe, to the US, and now you're creating tech that impacts the whole world. What lessons do you see from being able to function in all those different environments and to be influenced by all of those different environments and the experiences that you lived? What, especially from Africa, because Africa is a continent of so much potential and you're starting to see more and more inventors. And so what kind of feedback could you give to us about that experience as an African inventor who has been able to move to the US and to understand and thrive in that kind of ecosystem?
I think, coming from a place like Nigeria, where I remember in high school, I used one of my classes was technical drawing, like the precursors for architecture. And there's this thing called a T-square. If you talk to architects or draftsmen, I guess they're called, there's an elevated board that's wide, and then there's this long kind of ruler that you're supposed to be drawing, technical diagrams with protractors and stuff. And, there wasn't constant power supply. But I know I will stay up till 1 a.m., 2 a.m. with candlelight doing my homework, right?
Absolutely.
And so you start out by doing more with less, right? The teacher is not going to accept that you couldn't do your homework because there's no power. Light up a candle, do your homework, right? So you're already thrusting that, that more with less mentality, because the level of infrastructure is not as advanced as that of Europe or America, And then when you now come to a place like, the Western world, Europe or America, where you now see the advancements in infrastructure, and you're coming from a place where you were doing more with less. Well, now you have more. Now you want to do much more, right? So, and it doesn't pertain just to me. Look around, people like Thomas Mensa, a Ghanaian-born inventor of the fiber optics, to Sam Achilefu, Nigerian-born inventor of cancer-seeing goggles. His goggles sees cancer cells, right? And so, and so many other amazing inventors. I think it's just, coming from that place where you're lacking something, and then you get to a place where, wait a minute, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Okay, let's take it to the next level.
Absolutely. My last question, I'm going to now root it back to parents, teachers, and school guidance counselors. What kind of advice would you give to them in terms of encouraging kids to blend their personal passions with technology, to just take it as far as they can go and to get on the path to being an inventor or working on solutions which really benefit people? I saved the toughest question for last.
Yeah, this is not for me to be quoted as a guru, please.
No, it's just your advice and your tips.
Just my advice and my personal opinion. And I have over the last over a decade now, impacted over 1,000 students with mentoring, high school and college globally, earning me a Presidential Service Award from President Obama. So
Wow.
I do talk to kids a lot about certain things that can help them out. And one of the things I've noticed is the the rate and the pace of technological advancement. From the first industrial revolution around the 1770s to the second around 1870s, 1880s to the third around 1970s is roughly 90 to 100 years. But from the third to the fourth that we're in, it's only 50 years. It's faster. So, what may have worked for the parents are now in their 50s, 60s. What worked for them when they were growing up during the third industrial revolution, I humbly do not think it will work today in the fourth industrial revolution, right? So, there's got to be a way to get information faster since the world is advancing faster. So you have to find a way to tap into the information stream to always be kept abreast of what's going on now. Not what went on 20 years ago, but where are we now and where are we headed? So you're not left by the wayside, right? Um, And then, from what I've also observed from profiling other innovators, people like von Braun, who was a German scientist, came over to America after the war, who was 13 years old in Germany when he was shooting up rockets in his backyard. And then he came to America, he developed the NASA space rockets, right? But what was this gentleman's background? From a young age, he was both technically inclined and he was also in the arts. He was, like music. He played piano. So I found out that people, at least the way they described him, they said he was very technically gifted, but then he was able to explain himself because he also played music. So he had a hand in tech, he had a hand in, art or music, and so he was able to express himself. And so one great piece of advice is, if you're all tech but no way to express yourself, nobody knows what you're talking about, right? And so if you have one foot in tech, try to have one foot in art, dance, music, poetry, literature, writing, something non-tech. And then, like I mentioned, growing up, I ran away from all of the business things. And now, what am I doing? Over the past 5 years, I've had to go through, MIT, Harvard Business, Harvard Medical, and Harvard Business Executive, all to learn innovation of various kinds, which is business, right? And so, um, a child growing up needs to understand business. Doesn't mean have be a PhD business professor. No. Doesn't mean get a master's in entrepreneurship. No. But just the basic concepts. And this is simply because, at least the Western world, the world is run by corporations
Mhm.
who influence politicians and politicians who write laws to favor corporations. So, in essence, it's fueled by business, right? So, you have to understand business at a basic level. And then, by understanding at the basic level, what happens is you have choices. Do you want to go and work for somebody else? Well, if you understand business, if you understand entrepreneurship, all of a sudden you become the intrapreneur. you're the one that gets the promotions and leads others. If you don't want to work for somebody else, it's your choice. You can start your own small business, right? But if you don't understand anything about that, all of a sudden your windows getting smaller, you're more limited, you know. And so yeah, I'd say, blend your tech and innovation, blend it with, a little bit of business and entrepreneurship. And like I said, it doesn't have to be, PhD level, Girl Scout cookies, right? Selling lemonade, selling comic books, all those things. You're learning things, you're doing accounting, do it under a business name. Don't just do it right, do it under a business name. You're learning so much. Dabble in the arts. Again, you don't have to be Picasso, but just learn a few things about how to draw. From drawing, it could inspire you to sketch the designs of your tech innovation. you know and then to the parents, in Nigeria, it's either you're an engineer, a doctor, a lawyer, or you're a failure.
Wow.
So to the parents, again, times have changed, right? And they have to find a way to nurture their children, boost their confidence, embrace them, and the child will take all of that to heart and get to their highest potential. Um, I mean, look at people like Tony Hawk, skateboard. I remember when I used to watch movies, and if the police sees you skateboarding, they want to give you a ticket. He created a whole industry out of skateboard, right? you know, well, I'm sure people supported him, right? They didn't stop him. Exactly. Um, motorbike racing. 50, 100 years ago, these things weren't, around, right? Today, they are industries, people's jobs, all kinds of jobs, right? And so we're now, at a place where you cannot pigeonhole your kid into something they don't desire, they're not passionate about. I mean, people are making a lot of money by making 60 seconds dance videos on TikTok, right? On TikTok, right? Who knew about TikTok 5 years ago? It didn't exist. YouTubers, so it's a different world, right? And, if a parent, understands that, then what the parent can do is support their kid rather than the kid doing it as a hobby. You cover it up in the umbrella of a business, right? I mean, what are you going to school for? To gain the skills to earn an income. Well, if the kid is able to come up with this exotic dance moves and 10 million people want to watch the kid every day, hey, sign some endorsement deals, right? There's nothing wrong with that. Sign some endorsement deals, find a way to, um, I don't know, trademark the dance moves, get into the Guinness Book of World Records, and all of a sudden you're carving out your own niche, right? And then for the counselors, same thing, you know, more often than not these days, people like Kevin O'Leary, right? Who I think he had, I don't know if it was Kevin O'Leary or maybe it was Damon John that had dyslexia, right? All this, Steve Harvey, that performed poorly when they were in school. They're the heroes today. So be very careful about telling that kid they're not going to amount to anything, right?
Absolutely.
Right? Like Steve Harvey, Kevin O'Leary, Damon John, tons and tons of people, right? So why then would you tell a kid you're not going to amount to nothing? No. Find out if do they have dyslexia, do they have visual impairment, and make sure there isn't any medical problem. Are they doing? Is everything okay at home? right? Make sure all those things are okay. Then find out what the kid is passionate about. I mean, there are schools now like Lambda School or Alpha here in Austin where they don't have a curriculum. A kid comes in, kids of different ages, and I've visited the school. So, what do you like, kid? You like math? Okay, fine. You're at this level. Okay, we'll let you go at your own pace. You like art? Okay, cool. Where do you want to start? We'll let you go at your own pace. You like music? All right. So the world is changing, and so counselors also need to recognize that and don't try to pigeonhole kids into the mentality of the third industrial revolution because you're only, doing them a disfavor. And then finally, to the kids, to all of the above, there are certain other ingredients. I know that there's like Domino's has a pizza, and it's about this flat, but then there's the Chicago stuffed pizza, and it's this thick,
Yeah.
right? So you have all these things, so you're like at this level, but then to really get in there, aspects like leadership, read leadership books, right? Go to a few leadership training seminars. So leadership, things like creativity and innovation, take some. There's so many meetups, design thinking workshops, think tanks. Just go there, hackathons. Oh, amazing. Just go there and see how somebody from somewhere you don't know would look at a problem from an unbelievably new angle you will have never ever considered ever. I've done 16 of them. Amazing. Um, Negotiation, right? These are the things that move life. And then other things like management, organization, administration. Again, it's not about degrees and degrees. Just pick a couple of books, couple of seminars, couple of conferences, right? And now you're really a well-rounded person.
Absolutely. I like a couple of things about what you said. One was to teach kids about innovation. New Tech Kids, my company, is really focused. We started off teaching computer science. And about 2.5 years ago, we changed to teaching technological innovation because there's a difference. Computer science is a specific field of science. It can be very technical, but technological innovation is all that and also the higher order thinking, the thinking about the implications of technology as well. So I think you nailed it by saying, by giving a more broader definition of what we should be teaching kids. I also love your specific advice on all of the extracurricular things that kids could be doing. So I'm based in Amsterdam, and here there's slightly different attitude towards extracurricular things. In North America, it's almost embedded in the school. So there's all kinds of opportunities for you to do things. Here in Amsterdam, it's not the same. They have clubs, but they're much more limited in scope than in North America, say. So I love your suggestion about, parents and teachers help kids find resources out there. Hackathons, you can follow hackathons now online, for example.
Absolutely, exactly.
Exactly. All the books that you can read, you have to get to a point where you are either you're getting help with the adults in your life or you take it upon yourself to find these resources. So you've just hit the nail on the head that this is exactly the mentality that we have to get into for kids. Zuby, I want to thank you. We are now finished this interview and it has been amazing. There's so much that you've shown us, that you've talked about, that there's so much to think about. So thank you very much. And I am
Thank
rooting
you
for
for
you.
having me.
I hope that this Think and Zoom the law is passed, the bill is passed, so that it can be, people can have tax credits if they pay for it. And I just can't wait to see the next thing that you invent. Thank you so
Thank you
much.
so much, Deborah. Appreciate it and look forward to staying in touch with new tech things. I think you guys are doing an amazing job. Thank you very much for having me.
Great.